What's going on, guys? AJ here with the Breaking Point podcast, coming back after a 2-year hiatus. I moved to Arizona. I had to get out of the rat race of California. I honestly, just to be completely open with you guys, I had to reground myself. Went through, some issues with business in California, and it was just time for a restart. Like, all the post-COVID laws were just gonna raise all of our unemployment taxes, and we're not gonna get into all that. It was time for a move. So I moved to my vacation house in Lake Havasu. I took a year off, remodeled the house by hand, and now I'm back doing what I love to do, which is coming out here and talking to you guys about awesome things, business, fitness, life. And today we have a great episode. So I'm gonna be honest, I've had the podcast studio built for a couple months now, but I was having a really hard time figuring out like a good episode to come back to, something that's like really deep that everybody could resonate with. And luckily for me, I got put in a situation recently and left that situation that actually really like gave me some perspective on one, life, some issues that are going on right now just in the world, and things I'm seeing like a lot of repetitive behavior, especially in dating. So today we're going to talk about modern dating, which in my opinion is like playing Russian roulette with 5 bullets in the gun instead of 1, right? Like 80%, what would that be? 75% chance that you're more than likely gonna get shot and left in the gutter, right? So, not literally, but figuratively, right? And this is because of all sorts of issues, but after some self-reflection, one of the real issues that I realize that is going on in America, I can't speak for other countries, but what I've seen my friends go through, what I've gone through, what I hear other people talk about, what you see on social media, there's all one common theme in my opinion, and I think this is going to catch you guys a little off guard. Empathy, right? We have empathy deficits in relationships now. I think we have empathy deficits in, just life in general. We lack the ability to see through other people's eyes, right? And so we're always in defense mode, and we're walking around just worried about ourselves, which we'll get into this later, but has led to the wildly abuse of the term narcissist, right? Because at this point, a narcissist is just someone that doesn't agree with you, right? And it's like it just become too common. And just so everybody's aware, studies prove that 0.8% of the human population is actually a narcissist. So I could almost guarantee most people have called someone a narcissist that's not actually a narcissist. And boundaries are not narcissism, right? We'll get into that in a little bit. The funny thing about this, and this is a little marketing tip, I posted a video on my Snapchat, on public Snapchat, and said, same thing I just said to you guys. Hey, like, I didn't know what to say, but we're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about the abuse of the word narcissist, what true gaslighting is, leaving a toxic relationship, how challenging that is and why that's challenging. And everybody lost their minds. Like, multiple of my exes text me, all of their friends hit me up, because everyone thinks I'm going to put them on blast, right? Which I love, because that means they're going to watch this episode with a preconceived notion. And the best thing about somebody coming in believing they know what you're going to talk about, and you hit them with that Uno reverse card, is they actually pay attention. And this is something that I believe everyone needs to pay attention to, because it's important, right? In my opinion, humanity has failed. We're a failed project, and because we can't care for one another, and that's because we don't do self-reflection, and we don't actually heal our trauma. So what we do is we'll never admit that we're broken because of our insecurities. And if we admit that we're broken, that means our insecurities are valid, which means we're lesser of a person. So then we never fix it. So what we do is we trauma dump on everybody, and that's what's called dating in 2025. So we're just going to address kind of some of these things I've been seeing here. Everyone thinks I'm going to put my exes on blast. It's not my place to talk about their shortcomings, their misgivings, and, the things that they're going to have to wrestle with. Right, because even if you lie to everybody else, like, what you did, and I think that's a common misconception, and you can't get better. Like, all of us are fucked up, we've all made mistakes, we've all hurt people, and I'm gonna hold some accountability to myself right now, because that's what this is about, right, is how do we grow? You know, and what I want to do is I want to give you guys my perspective on how to grow from a bad situation instead of just allowing that trauma to continue. And now you trauma dump on your next partner, and that's unfair to them. It just leads to just casualties of war, you know, innocent civilians just getting blasted, and it's not right, you know, because we get into what I like to call a trauma tornado, and we're going to get into this. I'm going to tell a story. That being said, I do to put some context to what led to this theory of mine. I do have to bring up one thing that a former significant other did. It's a big deal, but it's not that big of a deal. But this is my version of how to display empathy, right? So one, thank you guys for joining in, and let's just get into it, right? So I got out of this situation fairly recent, and it was really challenging, right? Because I'm not a person that's used to having insecurities. I'm not a person that's used to feeling unsure about things. I like to believe I look at the whole picture, right? And we'll get into why I felt that way and what that means and what your subconscious is saying to you. But I was having a really challenging time figuring out why this relationship wasn't working. Like, it was very clear that we both loved each other deeply, or so I thought, right? Like, it was very clear to me that I loved her deeply. I can't speak to her frame of mind. But she had some past trauma from a previous relationship, and her and I lacked the ability to communicate efficiently, right? And because we lacked that ability and we were lacking empathy, we might have destroyed something that could have been true love, and we would have been together forever. And you know, I'm choosing not, like, I don't believe in walking away from a relationship with hate, right? And that's why I'm not gonna put any of my exes on blast or mention what they did, because all that does is keep you emotionally invested in that person, and you're just punishing yourself, right? So don't do that, right? Somebody else's actions don't reflect on you or your value, and I think the biggest thing when somebody does something messed up to you that you can't understand in a relationship is we believe it's a reflection of ourselves, but that's our insecurity screaming at us, and it's better to take the time to heal and get over that insecurity, right? Because their insecurity probably led them to do that, you know, or their addiction to attention because they're addicted to social media, and they believe that this is one crazy thing is like likes and how many people slide in your DMs. Like, motherfuckers slide in people's DMs. They slide in my DMs. They slide in girls' DMs 100 a day, and they're sliding in 1,000 other people's DMs. Like, they're over here just playing the lotto, just hoping that they're gonna get laid, and you're sitting here like taking that as value. Like, that's not currency, right? What we do on this earth, like what the legacy we leave, that's our currency in this world, right? Everything else goes away. You can make a lot of money, you could lose it. You can get a bunch of things, you could lose them, right? But nobody can take a legacy, no one can take accomplishments or achievements, and people need to focus more on that. I'm gonna build their confidence off of that, because then it doesn't matter what anybody else does, because they can't take that away from you. So getting into my story, what kind of led to this theory, right? She had some past trauma that she brought into our relationship, and she was younger, and I failed in this too, and we're going to discuss more about how I failed in this, because once again, it's not my place to speak on her mindset, you know, but at the beginning of the relationship, she lied to me, and that triggered a trauma response in me, because I've had exes lie to me often. I think a lot of people lie too much about things they shouldn't have to. And in return, she lied about, you know, her plans changing. She was supposed to have girls' night. One of her girls brought a dude over, and she lied about it, right? That's her story. What I can't speak to what actually happened. But I'm going to choose to believe her. And because her ex when plans would change, her ex would attack her. So her auto defense mechanism when the plans changed was to lie to me, right? Which triggered my auto defense mechanism to recoil from the relationship, believe that she wasn't taking it seriously, and I fucked up, and I cheated. I didn't cheat by sleeping with someone else, but I cheated by allowing doors to be open for other people, right? I didn't stop talking to some girls, you know, and the best thing that came out of this relationship is I saw how much that hurt her. I vowed to never do it again, and I never did it again throughout the relationship. And I won't ever do it again to anybody else because I chose to grow from that experience. And unfortunately, she paid the price for that, and I've apologized profusely to her for it. She couldn't get over it because that initiated her trauma response of her ex cheating on her. So her trauma response of lying to me triggered my trauma response of being lied to, which led to me triggering her trauma response of cheating, essentially. And now her and I were both just in defense mode the entire time. We weren't able to see things from other people's, from each other's point of view, and it ultimately led to our demise. And I'm gonna take accountability for it because I was older. I have more life experience, and instead of going into auto defense mode, and now I know not to do this. I know this is a flaw of mine that I've been working on fixing. So my next relationship, like, if something happens like this, like, I'm going to talk to her about it and be like, hey, like, why did you feel the need to do this? Like, it's not okay, you lied, right? And you're going to have to build trust back. But, like, if I can understand that this was, like, an auto response to something that happened before, now I can help you heal. And in return, you can help me heal. And guess what? Now we're each other's rocks. We're each other's, like, we're what your significant other is supposed to be, which is your person, your best friend, like, the person you can always rely on, And so that's where I failed her, and I failed our relationship. Is I shouldn't have gone in auto defense mode and did what I did, and luckily I learned from that. But her and I just sat there and we continuously, kept our shields up, and because we were focused on our trauma, our pain, we couldn't see the pain that each other were going through, and so we would do things. We weren't listening to each other, and so we would do things to try to prove to one another that this wasn't the case, but we weren't listening to one another, and we weren't being empathetic, so we weren't resonating with each other, and we were constantly sitting there with our shields, which is a terrible way to be in a relationship. Like, if you ever feel that way and you guys can't break that, like, leave, right? That's a toxic relationship, and nobody's gonna win, because subconsciously you're gonna start hating each other, but consciously you love each other, right? And now you're at conflict, and it's gonna make you a different person. And some of the things her and I did to each other throughout the past couple months were horrendous, right? And we didn't realize we were doing this to each other because we were focused on ourselves, and unfortunately we couldn't realize this beforehand, and we couldn't get it fixed. That's such as life. It was meant to be, it was meant to be. But if we would have been more empathetic and communicated better, we probably could have helped each other heal, because we had the love to stick it out despite the fact we were hurting one another, right? So we had one of the key ingredients, but we were missing some of the more important ones. But how I watch everybody interact in life in general is they don't have empathy for one another. Oh, this guy said this, so fuck him. Why did he say that, right? Why do you care what he said? Like, that's your insecurity screaming at you. And I did a lot of self-work in Afghanistan to address the things that made me insecure, fix the flaws I could, accept the ones I couldn't, right? And that's why that's why I put that I cheated on blast, because it wasn't right. What I did to her wasn't right, but it's not gonna be a weapon that's wielded against me. Like, I'm gonna own it, I'm gonna fix it, because that's all I could do. I can't change the past. We don't have a time machine, right? So, but I could grow from it, and that's the best thing you could do. But nobody does that. They jump into a relationship with somebody else, right? I'm in my healing phase right now, and I know that if I tried to jump in a relationship with somebody right now, there's zero chance of success, right? I won't believe anything they say, and I'm gonna dump all the trauma from my ex onto them, and that's not fair to them, right? And having that realization and not needing someone else and being able to be alone is wildly important. You shouldn't be with someone until you're happy with yourself, and you could lay in bed at night by yourself and still feel comfortable, right? If you have to sleep with the TV on so you have noise because you can't be alone with your own thoughts, that's something you need to focus on. You need to get to the point of, like, deeper thinking and, like, why am I doing this, right? Like, we're so in autopilot. It's not, we're just zombies going through life, right? And we're sitting here like, we're thriving. No, we're not, right? Thriving is becoming a better person every day. That's thriving. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter what you have. It doesn't matter your fame, your success. None of that matters unless you're thriving every day and leaving a legacy, right? Wild abuse of the word thriving. Like, most people aren't thriving, Sure, you may be doing well, but, like, are you performing at your best? Do you even know what your best is? Have you even taken the time to talk to yourself to figure out what your best is? So I believe there's a severe empathy deficit, which is why I'm actually doing this podcast solo. Normally I have guests on, but this one is like such an important topic. I believe that I don't think it's something that I should be debating with anybody. This is just my opinion. I'm not a psychologist. Like, this isn't factual. This is just me stepping back, taking a 10,000 foot view over a really terrible situation that I just got out of, and figuring out what I went wrong, right? I can sit here and point fingers at her all day, but how does that make me better? And if I'm relying on her agreeing that she did these things to me, like, how am I ever supposed to move on? All I'm gonna do is stay emotionally invested in it. If I hate her, I stay emotionally invested. If I sit there and need her to admit things, or need her to acknowledge my worth, like, now I'm emotionally invested because, like, I still need you. Like, you should want somebody, you shouldn't need them. So, you know, long story short, I did something horrific to her, you know, and honestly, it was because I wasn't being empathetic, and I should have listened to her, you know. I'm a little old school. I believe the man leads the relationship. I believe that you walk side by side with your partner. It's not one of you behind each other. Like, you walk side by side, but, you know, men are genuine. All right, actually, modern day men are. Men should be more logical, while women should be more emotional, and that's the yin and yang, right? And that's how you have an effective family, right? You have nature, you have nurture, right? We complete each other, and, like, that's why we need, like, that's why family that stays together is, like, so important, because you offer your children both perspective, logic, and emotion, right? Not saying, especially nowadays, all these soy boys, they're emotional as fuck. So I don't know what to say about them, but I try to verge on logic, and I was lucky enough to have the experience at a young age of being a medic in the Army and having people's lives in my hand and not having the choice to be emotional, which rewired my brain to think more logically and allowed me to view things without my insecurities leading them. And, you know, I'm a confident individual, but I have insecurities as well. I just don't let them control me, right? So that's one situation we got out of, right? And so that was just a way that toxic tornado of us just continuously feeding into each other's trauma. You know, we could have healed each other, but guess what? We fed into each other's trauma so bad that, you know, if it wasn't addressed, like, if I didn't take this view, like, I would definitely bring more trauma into my next relationship. And, like, how's that fair to that person? Why are they paying for this other person's actions? Right? They didn't do this to me, and now, like, well, I can't trust you because I couldn't trust her. Like, that's not fair to them, right? So taking the time to heal is really, really important. You know, and seeing things through other people's eyes is, like, it's so wildly important, because we get so offended by people's actions, but, like, why do we think we matter to these people so much? Like, why do we think that we are so, like their thought, like, that is arguably narcissism, is, like, to believe that everything they do is, like, revolved over some deep thinking about us. Like, why does this person care what we do? Like, I don't care what other people do. I don't care what other people think. Like, if I base my value off of what other people think, like, people hate success. People hate accomplishment, and insecure people hate being around confident individuals. You know, and it's not that person's fault. It's they're not taking the time to heal, right? Her lying to me, like, that was an auto defense. Like, she didn't do that out of ill intent. She did that out of survival because of her previous relationship. You know, and me recoiling, like, that wasn't ill intent. It hurt her just like her lie hurt me. But I didn't do it to hurt her. I did it to protect myself, and when I needed to be empathetic in those moments and lead the relationship in a different route. You know, taking the time to heal is so wildly important. But don't let your trauma manifest into this, like, toxic tornado where you're, like, if you have that kind of love where you guys could stick out, like, doing some pretty fucked up things to each other, it doesn't matter. Anybody that's trying to combine their life, like, you are going to hurt one another. But if you love each other enough to stick that out, like, don't ruin it over not being able to see through your partner's perspective, right? So, like, most relationships and humans in general are affected by insecurity, right? By constantly judging themselves by everyone else's lives on social media. Social media is wildly fucking toxic, right? And I'm gonna point out a couple red flags, and this isn't addressing towards, like, anybody I've dated in particular. This is just a accumulation of things that my buddies have gone through, that I've gone through, and that I see, right? If you feel the need to go chase attention on social media, don't be in a relationship. Because every time you post that selfie in your bikini, or you as a man post a shirtless pic in the gym, and you have a significant other, you embarrass your significant other because you're out here opening the door, seeing what else is better, seeing what else comes your way. Like, if you commit, we live in a world where you can have a million different types of relationships, so why commit if you're going to sit here and go chase something else? You know, just don't commit. Be single. Just go live your life single. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, you don't need to be in a relationship by 25. You don't need to be married. Some people never get married and are happy. You know, find what's happy for you, right? So, like, you don't need somebody else, right? And if you still need that attention, don't be with somebody. Posting selfies and things looking for attention. I can only speak from my personal experience here, and once again, in no way, shape, or form is this factual. Sorry, it may be factual. In no way, shape, or form do I have a scholar article about this being true. I believe that women weaponize men's ego. Right? No man wants to believe that his girl will cheat on him. Right? And so we sit there and we choose to believe these lies. And in the same return, no woman wants to believe their man will cheat on them. Right? But men's ego gets weaponized. You know, from my experience, I've never been a woman in a relationship, so I'm not trying to be sexist here. Like, I can only speak on like what I've experienced. And you know, my love was weaponized. I wanted to believe her, and come to find out, you know, my instincts were correct, right? But you know, and whatever, we were feeding into each other's trauma. Like, that's, you know, we shouldn't have hurt each other. We should have walked away, or we should have communicated more efficiently. But you know, such is life. Like, you can't control everything. But if you still need that attention on social media, just stay single, right? Now, posting a picture with your homegirls in your bikinis on a boat doing something, that's different. Posting pictures at an event to just document it, that's different. But posting selfies every time you go to the gym in a relationship is absurd. You're disrespecting your partner, right? And you're opening the door for other people to invade your relationship. And at the very least, people don't respect your relationship. So if you do respect your relationship, stop doing that. Now going back to like our base instincts, right? Like, our subconscious is so powerful. If your instincts are telling you, like, one, if somebody's actions and words don't line up, like, there's no excuse for it, right? And we want to believe them because we love so hard, but there's no excuse. If their actions and words don't line up, like, they're lying, you know? And I can tell you that from my time in Afghanistan, from watching terrorists lie, from watching human beings lie, and just paying attention to, like, perception. Like, it's not if your actions are honest, words, I could say anything. I could tell you I'm the president of the United States right now. That doesn't make me the president of the United States. I know we like to like identify as things, and now all of a sudden that's factual. Like, that's not true either, right? Like, if you believe it, sure, but you can't expect everyone else to believe it. Like, I don't hate on what anybody does. Like, you want to identify as a boy, a girl, a dog, whatever else, like, that's your choice, and I'm not gonna sit here and judge you, but like, don't force it on everyone else, right? Be confident enough to be that dog and go take a shit in a litter box, and you know, and be yourself. Like, don't care what anybody else thinks. Listen to your subconscious, right? And here's a problem: when we start lying to ourselves, consciously we love them, subconsciously we hate them, and our behavior starts reflecting theirs. And that's not fair to them or you. Like, revenge is not fair. Just leave. Have the confidence to bounce, right? And here's another thing. Like, somebody else's actions, it's just not a reflection of your self-worth. We gotta stop doing that. The thing that hurts most when somebody cheats or lies to you or whatever is we take it as our self-worth. We don't know their mindset, and I'm not saying it's right. Like, you set that boundary and bounce, right? That's it. Leave. You know, don't try to convince them of your worth, because you're never going to, right? If they valued you, they wouldn't do it in the first place. So if actions and words aren't lining up, bounce. When we lie to ourselves and defend our partner's actions, we may try to forgive consciously. We don't forgive subconsciously. We're gonna hate them, you know, and like, the things that her and I did to each other towards the end of the relationship, like, that was hate. That wasn't out love. But then we see each other after the breakup. We both feel emotional. We clearly loved each other. Or, you know, once again, I can't speak on her intent, but, like, I loved her. You know, seeing her sad, like, breaks my armor, which means she meant a lot to me. Because I'm an asshole. Like, straight up. Like, if I decide I don't fuck with you anymore, like, I flip a switch, I'm done. I could walk by you. I didn't even go to my grandfather's funeral. You know, so if somebody could break my armor, I had true feelings for you. And I'm happy that I was able to have those for someone, you know, and feel how good that felt. Despite the outcome. You know, and I don't want to keep dragging this on, but the moral of this whole thing is we need more empathy and humanity. And, you know, we need to care about the people to our left and right. And I don't believe we do. And I think we especially take that out on our partners. Right? It's okay that your partners have trauma, but it's not necessarily your job to fix it, but how much stronger is your relationship if you do? Right? That being said, communicate it. Take the time to be honest with yourself and not allow your insecurities to rule your life. And because now you're not going to heal, and now your issues just became everybody else's problems. You know, and how are you going to get better ever? You're going to walk through your life with this chip on your shoulder and this wild insecurity that just keeps growing and growing and growing because you guys keep feeding into each other's trauma. How do you heal if every relationship you feed into trauma through an auto defense mechanism? Like, fuck your partner, fuck what goes on with them when you break up. Who the fuck cares what they do? Focus on you, right? Fix those trauma responses so you can be better in your next relationship. Once you're in that trauma tornado, it's over. Like, you guys will never trust each other. You're never gonna feel the same way about each other. You know, so you gotta heal, right? And be honest with yourself. Admitting you have a flaw. Everybody has flaws, right? Don't be afraid to affirm your insecurity, because until you affirm it to yourself, you can't fix it, right? The most confident people don't believe they're perfect. I get told that a lot. Oh, you think you're perfect? No, I don't think I'm perfect. I'm just not going to allow you to weaponize my insecurities against me. I've already said worse shit to myself than you could ever say to me. I don't care about your opinion. Right? So, more people need to focus on that. Stop caring about what other people do. It's not a direct reflection of you. But the biggest thing here is, one, if you're addicted to attention, stay single. And two, have empathy for your significant other. Right? I don't walk around with regrets, but one of the things I would say is I know I loved this last person I dated very, very hard. And I'm glad that I got to grow from the experience, and I'll never make that issue, you know, I'll never make that mistake again. But I think, like, what if I was more empathetic when she first lied to me? Yeah, that doesn't make what she did okay, but, you know, that was an auto response for her, and as the more mature one in the relationship, I should have addressed it, right? So have more empathy for our brothers and sisters, our left and right, and definitely have empathy for your significant other. If you're not going to have empathy for anybody, make sure it's for your significant other. So there's our show for today. We might dig into this more with my tattoo artist next week, but that'll be a more chill conversation. I just want to get an episode out for you guys. I look forward. Please subscribe. I look forward to seeing you guys again.